Ladies and gentlemen, this is ProPokeNoob back today with a picture of my avatar on your screen, because why not? I said I would not be doing this in one of my previous uploads, but there is one aspect that I do want to touch on because I have found my special guest yet again, so we are going to do this again. It is going to be touching on today the Smogon Doubles banning of Sleep Claws, or suspect testing of removing Sleep Claws. Did I say banning? Yes, I said banning. That's okay. But ladies and gentlemen, from the grave, who said he would join, like, a billion years ago, Mr. Sherby Magnum. Mr. Sherby Magnum, how you doing today?
From the grave, I'm here. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for asking. So why don't you explain to who you are, what you're doing here, why exactly I'm talking to you, stuff like that.
Well, as you said, Sherby Magnum, as they refer to me in the Pokemon community. I play a lot of VGC, mainly. Don't really play a lot of the other tiers right now. Do play a little bit of UU, however, but that's beside the point. Played a lot of Battle Spot this gen, gotten up to about 1800 on the ladder, which is 4th in Canada, but that doesn't really mean much when you have the Japanese people that are all like 2.2, and they're like the top 200 in the world, but yeah. Also been pretty high on the Showdown ladder, top 10 a couple times after some of the resets. I don't think I'm the best player, but I'm certainly not a scrub-a-dub.
Yeah, we don't want any scrub-a-dubs on this channel.
Yeah.
I'm the only scrub-a-dub. So, I haven't just brought him in, ladies and gentlemen, for no reason. We have him for a reason. That's because he does touch on VGC. So just to give a quick background, Smogon Doubles has been testing for a while now. This has been quite a bit of time now, but they've been testing removing Sleep Claws from Smogon Doubles, and the reason for that is they're basing it off of the battle style of VGC. So I have him here because he plays VGC and I don't yet. I might try it a little bit later on, but for now I'm not really well experienced in the meta that's going on with that, so he's going to be very instrumental with analyzing whether or not the Sleep Claws should actually be tested or if it just be left alone as is. So what I want you to start with is just explain to us how the VGC works in the sense that, you don't have Sleep Claws in it, so how does that actually work with just the meta in VGC?
Well, firstly, I'm just going to start off by saying everything I say here is just like my personal opinion. You can disagree with it if you want. I'm not, saying what I'm saying is completely right. It's just a personal analysis. But anyways, how it affects the meta, really, Spore from Amoonguss is really the only real meta game type sleep inducer. There's also Dark Void Smeargle, which has made a comeback. That thing is annoying as heck. I was talking about that before. It has a lot less counters than Amoonguss does, and I think we'll probably get into those counters a little bit later. But more to the point, it's not a metagame defining thing, but it's always something you got to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, sorry, I'm hanging up a phone. Okay, so yeah, so
right.
it's not necessarily. Yeah, someone's calling me. So it's not necessarily game breaking. It's just more or less there, and it's difficult to actually pull off.
Right, it's a thing you guys got to keep in the back of your mind. It's something that's there that you always have to be wary of, but it's not like, a main problem that is going to plague you.
Yeah. Now, I know you don't play a lot of Smogon Doubles, and I do, because I understand. So, VGC, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you have a team of 6, it's 2v2, and you only choose 4 based on what your opponent chooses. So you choose the 4, and then you go into that 2v2. With Smogon Doubles, it's 6v6, you don't choose, you just go. And there's a lot of different things. So, for example, in VGC, you don't have a lot of setup, per se, pokes. You don't have a lot of Dragon Dance sweepers or stuff like that. It's more or less just wailing on each other and trying to cripple each other. The most you'll have is, I think, Trick Room or Tailwind, right?
Right. There are a couple of, pokes that do set up some things, like Volcarona is one thing. That was a big thing last season. They would do the on top Volcarona thing. You fake out first turn and then Quiver Dance with the Volcarona. That was a thing. But other than that, yeah, like you said, there's not really much outside of Tailwind and Trick Room.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to get into VGC is because I always have these interesting sets and interesting combinations that I try to use in singles, but they work so much better in doubles, so gonna give that a try anyways. But in Smogon Doubles we have Sleep Claws banned, and one of the reasons for that, I think, that we just had it banned is just because we had it as a part of Smogon's normal rules anyways, as normal competitive battling. And from my experience, to be honest, a lot of people actually don't even use sleep very often. They don't necessarily lead off with a Spore person. I mean, I don't play at the bottom of the ladder. I play middle of the ladder about. And I don't see a lot of Amoonguses. I see Smeargles, but Spore usually doesn't get through because you just double target it and it's dead. And a lot of people don't run Scarf Smeargles. So, right now, it doesn't seem like an issue. Now, we're going to go through basically both the pros and the cons of actually banning Sleep Claws from Smogon Doubles because, you know, they're basing this off of VGC rules. And in my opinion, I just feel like VGC and Smogon Doubles don't play the same way. What do you think?
I'll agree with you on that one. Just to elaborate a little bit, like you were saying before, it's a 6v6 metagame, not a 4v4 metagame. There's a lot less, I guess, when you're picking your 4 Pokemon in a VGC match, there's a lot of strategy to it because you want to try and counterplay what your opponent's gonna get, you know, what they're gonna pick. But sometimes it ends up being luck. Sometimes, you know, you bring the wrong 2 to start with, and you know you're just completely screwed from there just because of that one pick. And with the 6v6, you can always swap out and pick counters a little bit better.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can look at their team and then choose the 2 you're going to send out, but you know you're going to be going against all 6. So most of the time, you know, I'll lead off with the taunt user and a fake out user because no matter what they're going to lead off with, unless they have a ghost type, you know, I'm safe to look at their team and go, okay, these 2 will be pretty good against anything they could lead with.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot more flexibility in Smogon Doubles with switching, and a lot, there's a lot more ways you can deal with certain things, unless you're against those stupid Clefables that are running around with Sigilifts now. Those are the 2 new pain in the asses.
Yeah, there's a pretty big misconception that there's not a lot of switching done in VGC, and I mean, obviously there's not like as much as there is in single 6v6 because I mean, there's just, you can't afford to do that. But there is a lot of switching in VGC. It's just you don't have the liberty of having 6 Pokemon to have a counter to everything. You have to try and formulate a strategy before the game even starts.
You have to switch smartly.
Exactly.
You can't just switch and fodder things off. So let's say, based off knowing what VGC is, and based off understanding the fact that it doesn't really affect the meta to have Sleep Claws removed, if I was to give you 6 Pokemon, let's say, all 6 Pokemon, you can lead with any 2 you want, just like a Smogon Doubles battle, 6v6. Would you try to abuse the fact that Sleep Claws has been removed? What do you think? Does it matter about 4 versus 6 Pokemon whether or not people would abuse? Abuse Sleep?
So let me just clarify what you're asking. You're saying, is it any different in VGC versus Smogon 6v6, the strategy surrounding Sleep?
Well, yeah, if I give you 2 more Pokemon, let's say if I give you 2 more Pokemon and I say, here, there's no more Sleep, you're playing Smogon Doubles, here, there's no more Sleep Claws, go nuts, here's your 6 Pokemon. Would you try to make a Sleep-centered team where you just try to cripple everything with Sleep and then set up a sweeper? Would you try to do that?
Personally, I would not, because I think there's a lot of ways to counter it. I know that for sure people would, though. Like, there's always going to be that, you know, that one guy that's like, oh, I'm going to run the Smeargle with Dark Void and just sleep the whole enemy team and just be a big asshole about it. But personally, I wouldn't, but I know it would definitely be a thing that people would do, for sure.
I'd be one of those guys, by the way. Not the Dark Void, but I would try and abuse as much as possible. Okay, so let me put it to you in a different way then. If Sleep Claws is removed, right, do you think people have to necessarily worry about that actually changing a meta? Like, actually becoming Sleep versus anti-Sleep? Do you think that could actually happen?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because right now, they don't even have to worry about it. It's not a concern of theirs. Because as you were saying before, I've not really played a whole bunch of Smogon Doubles, but you were saying that Sleep, you don't really see a lot of Amoonguses and Breelooms and Smeargles with Dark Void, from what I understand from what you were saying. So, you know, you suddenly add that into the mix, people aren't used to it, it's going to catch them for a loop, you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to have to learn to play around.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's not gonna be, like, there's gonna be these sleep teams. I want to believe that there's not gonna be these teams where there's gonna be 4 sleepers and 2 sweepers, right? I don't want to believe that's gonna happen because...
Sorry, that'd be the best team name ever, though.
I know, as I was just about to say, I'm gonna make the sleeper and sweeper team.
Yeah. Sorry about that, go on.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not afraid of a sleeper and sweeper meta. I'm gonna call that this. The sleeper and sweeper meta. That's the name of this upload.
It was off the tongue just perfectly. Oh.
I know. The sleeper and sweeper meta. Okay, so I'm not necessarily concerned about that. What I'm more concerned about is the fact that whenever they do this, whenever something like this is done, people try to find a way to make it look like it was the worst idea ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that happens with every meta, but with something like Sleep Claws being removed, I feel like that might have a little bit more implications to actually damaging the face of Smogon Doubles, if that makes sense. I feel like it's going to make it look like, oh, Smogon Doubles is just a place for trolls. You know, everyone just put everything to sleep, there you go. Do you think it might look like that if they do that?
I guess it would be a, you know, what the community, the whole community thing, what the community thinks. From what I've seen, the Smogon community is pretty good. I know there's a lot of people that, you know, think that they have their negative opinion about the Smogon community. Personally, I don't think that they're real douchebaggy, to put it lightly. They might think that it's a little trolly to do this, and you know, it's kind of hard to say. So
I think one of the biggest barriers will be that the fact that maybe not a lot of people play VGC, so they don't understand that Sleep Claws is not a big issue in VGC. They don't have to consider it because, again, like you said, it's not really, it can't be necessarily abused because people know how to play around it, no problem, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's just, to me, because let's just think about, okay, the pros of removing Sleep Claws. The pros of removing Sleep Claws. One thing would be that there's a lot more, well, what they're trying to do anyways, one of their justifications before they removed it from the Smogon ticker or whatever here, was that they want to encourage more things like taunt. They want to encourage the fields, like misty terrain, grassy terrain, electric terrain, stuff like that. They want to encourage these combinations of teams that don't necessarily work. But my question is, will Sleep Claws being removed actually encourage those?
Well, the taunt thing, definitely. There's some really good Pokemon that people use in VGC right now that run taunt. The number one I can think of off the top of my head is Aerodactyl.
Yeah.
Usually runs taunt over protect because, you know, it's so fast and frail that protect, and you usually run a Focus Sash on it anyways, so you don't really need to protect. And that's my personal counter to Dark Void Smeargle, is the taunt, Aerodactyl.
Just out of curiosity, does he outspeed a Scarf Smeargle?
I don't think he does, but a lot of people don't run that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that is a thing, and I shouldn't say a lot of people don't run it, because a lot of people do run it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't outspeed, no, actually.
Okay.
But like I was saying, the whole terrain thing, I personally think those are terrible moves, and I don't think they would work. Like, I don't know why they would say that they're trying to encourage those type of, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. I've never used them, so I can't say that they're terrible. They just seem terrible to me.
I don't think they meant to necessarily focus on, okay, people are going to start using electric terrain. I don't think they're actually trying to focus that. I think they were more or less just saying these types of things could become more viable if they remove Sleep Claws. Like, it just opens up people to not necessarily have to worry about one Pokemon being put to sleep. Now that Pokemon that can hold Misty Terrain, you know, there's a chance that you can put both of them to sleep and set it up and make it work. I think that's what they were trying to say they're doing. But, I mean, I could be misunderstanding this as well and overhyping it. But to me, like, Taunt's already run. Like, I use Sableye and Tornadus as my Taunters because they both have Prankster, right? And they both work out, and I mean, I lead with a Tornadus Sableye. Sableye has Fake Out on mine, right, with a Focus Sash, so I just recover and get back with my Focus Sash if I really need it. But I mean, there's these types of things that are already run, so mentioning it to me just seems kind of moot, rather than just saying, hey, we're just testing it to make sure that, you know, we get other Pokemon working. But I don't know if removing Sleep Claws really does that.
Right, and there's also some people that were running, oh my, I forgot my point, sorry. Yeah, but it'll come back to me in a bit. Just keep talking. My bad.
Well, talking is my specialty. So, okay, let's look at the flip side. Sure. Everything's okay when we ban Sleep Claws, right? What, like, do you think... I don't know how to word this, because it's hard to say without saying, like, it's either Smogon the losers, Smogon the stupid, or Smogon the brilliant, right? It's hard to say one or the other, because again, I'm used to Sleep Claws. I like Sleep Claws. I think it's completely fair. But again, I also don't understand a meta without Sleep Claws. So, removing Sleep Claws might actually be one of the most beneficial things to a 6v6. Mainly because, again, you have that extra 2 Pokemon that you can play around. And it might encourage things like Insomnia, Hypno, for all we know.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. My bad. Okay, I remember now.
There we go.
Some people were running Insomnia last season to count, because a big craze for a little while was this whole Scarf Breloom thing.
Yep.
And a couple people started running Magmar with Eviolite and Insomnia.
It's Vital Spirit.
Counter...
Vital Spirit.
What's that?
Vital Spirit.
Vital Spirit, yeah, that's it. They were running that as a counter to the Breloom, the Scarf Breloom with Spore. So, I mean, that could be an option too. I don't know if that's the most viable option, but I certainly think there's better things you could do to counter that, especially now with the introduction of safety goggles, which we'll probably talk about a little bit more in depth a little bit later. But yeah, that's also a thing.
Actually, you know what? You were worried about Smeargle with Dark Void, right?
Right.
Run a Gourgeist with Insomnia. It can't get hit by Spore or Dark Void. There you go.
That's a viable thing as well. Yeah.
Sweet. I'm on my way.
There you go. Now you know what to do.
I know what to do now. Use a Gourgeist. Actually, I use that thing. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's one of the best Trick Room set-uppers.
Yeah.
Upperers.
Oh, I didn't actually know it was used. Cool.
Yeah, he's pretty popular.
Sweet. Okay, so that's another thing also, right? Do we think that let's ban Sleep Claws? That's okay. Cool. Okay. Do we start having a sleeper and sweeper meta? I guess that's final, like the final line, like the final conclusion. Do we develop like a normal single 6v6 type of thing, except it'll just be sleeper and sweeper rather than setup and sweeper?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think that will actually become more popular and make doubles more interesting? Because to me, I like seeing in doubles, a lot of creative combinations, not just one Pokemon sweeping because a whole bunch of Pokemon supported it, right? Mm-hmm. I more or less agree with Smogon where they're saying we want to encourage more combinations, but the Sleep Claws actually being removed, does that actually encourage that, or does it just encourage, hey, I'm going to use that Volcarona and sweep an entire team with Heat Wave, right? Do you think that'll happen?
I think it definitely opens up some more opportunities for creativity. Because, I mean, the obvious thing that I think a lot of people would probably ask is why change what's not broken? Like, why are they taking this new outlook on things? It wasn't a thing that was broken, so why are they changing it? And it's obviously because they just want to shake up the meta a little bit, and, that's always a good thing. If it doesn't work out, I guess they can ban it, but I think it'll probably work out fine, and everything will just be normal. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. As far as it shifting from a sleeper thing, I don't know. Like I said, there's going to be some people that try it. I don't think it's going to work out all that well for them. I'm not sure how difficult it is to set up in a Smogon doubles way. Like I said, it's really hard to set up in VGC. Well, not really hard, but it's a little bit more difficult. I would assume it's the same way in Smogon doubles, though.
I think it's actually easier because a lot of people don't know how to necessarily play doubles properly and don't understand that there's a lot more protect, there's a lot more AoE damage, like Rock Slide, Surf, stuff like that. So usually they use just a Clefable or a Sigilyph, which is one of the most popular setups right now with stored power because there's no phasing. No one has phasers. So these things just set up non-stop and then they become so bulky they're impossible to kill.
So no one's running like taunts and...
Oh, people run taunt, but the thing is, you usually lead with it, and then because there's doubles, what a lot of people believe is you just leave them to die. Or if you switch them out, they're so damaged already they can't come back in and use it, right? Like, a lot of people don't run Crobat or Sableye for the purposes of taunt, they run them for the fact that they're speedy or have priority. So either it'll be really aggressive or really bulky, right? There's none of that real... here are my 2 leads, here are my 2 kind of screw with you, and here are my 2 sweepers, that type of thing. That's what I like to do anyways.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, taunt isn't the most popular thing in VGC because, like I said, nobody ever tries to set up. It's too difficult to do.
And usually Trick Room and Tailwind gets away anyways, right?
Exactly, because they'll run I can't off the top of my head remember the name of that item, or they'll just use a Aromatisse that just gets one off for free anyways.
Mental Herb?
Mental Herb, yeah, that's the item I was talking about.
Yeah.
So that'll go off even through a taunt. Yeah, and you could also use sleep as a counter to those setup things as well. Now that you bring that up, it could be a new way to counter some setup strategies, I suppose.
I mean, I can understand that because with 6 Pokemon, you can easily put someone to sleep and you still have 5 options, especially in a doubles. Like with VGC, you put something to sleep, right? That's technically 1 less option you have, and you don't have a lot left after that. You have 2 Pokemon on the side. In Smoke doubles, you have 4, right?
Oh, that's a really good point, actually, because a lot of the things that sleep, they don't really do much else. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a Mungus, and it's a good Rotom W counter, and Rotom W is, like, on pretty much every single VGC team.
Because of Talonflame?
One, but... What's that?
Because of Talonflame?
Just, it's a really good Pokemon. It's bulky.
Well, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good against Talonflame. It's decent against Charizard Y. But like you were saying, after they put something to sleep, they really don't do much. So maybe that's why in VGC it hasn't been as prominent of a thing, and maybe it could be more prominent in Smogon doubles because you have that extra 2 Pokemon to deal with. I don't know. I'd have to test it out.
Yeah, because originally coming into this, I looked at Sleep Claws and I'm like, you get rid of it, it's going to be this stupid meta where people are just going to be putting stuff to sleep, and it's going to be doing that. But now, thinking about, hey, maybe sleep is good to actually stop these Clefables and these Sigil. Like, I mean, Sigil have become more popular anyways, but, I mean, it might actually become something useful and actually open up people to think that, now that they have the ability to put more than 1 Pokemon to sleep, I can't get away with just switching this one useless thing out and getting away with 2 sweepers.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, actually, that it's so different. Like, I've never seen a Sigilif or a Clefable in VGC ever.
Well, Sigilif just does the same thing it does in singles, except it has team support. So it still does the Flame Orb, Magic Guard with Psycho Shift and Stored Power and stuff like that. So it does they both do the exact same thing. They're just different Pokemon, but they still do the same they do in singles.
Right.
So, like, it's just the fact that it has team support is what makes it stupid. So, like, recently I played a Gyarados and a Clefable. I played against a Gyarados and a Clefable, and all the Gyarados would do is Thunder Wave, right?
Oh, God.
And then it would bounce, so you can't touch it. And then on top of that, Clefable's setting up, and then he would also have, I'm trying to remember who else I think he had a Sableye with Confuse Ray, so he'd be parafusing my guys while he sets his Clefable up to +6. And the only thing that saved me was the fact that I had used Guard Split on my Zygarde for my Shuckle, so I had 404 special defense, so it wasn't hurting me that much. But I couldn't kill it, and I couldn't phase it, and it had soft boiled. So, Sleep would really deal well with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's when you throw your Smeargle and just Dark Void him. Or you throw out something with Unaware, I guess, but I mean, that's a whole different thing.
Actually, a cool thing would be Jumpluff with Infiltrator. That way they can't set up a sub on it. You put it to sleep. That works, right?
Yeah.
Infiltrator goes with both damaging and non-damaging.
Yep.
Something to consider. Okay, so let's cut this. Let's cut this off. So basically, we've talked about Sleep Claws as potentially creating the sleeper and sweeper meta, but it could also open up for a lot more anti-sleeper and sweeper meta by creating its own anti-meta. Yeah.
Basically, it'll be a counter to what can I call you Andrew? Sure, why not? what ProPokeNoob was talking about, the whole setup things that he says a lot of people are using the Clefables and the Sigilid. Sleep would be a pretty good counter to that.
It's either a lot of people are using it, or somehow I just end up with all of them on the ladder. One of those two. But I'm just gonna say everyone's using it just to sound a little bit more credible.
Okay, so everyone's using it. Let's use Sleep to counter it.
Let's use Sleep to counter it, unless it's Sigilif. In which case, what did I do? I did something that Sigilif once. I did it in a video where I think I predicted it switching and tricked its Flame Orb away, and then I paralyzed. No, I put it to sleep. I think I did that once.
Damn.
That was my only way of dealing with it. Like, I saw it coming in, I tricked it, like leftovers, which I didn't care about. Oop, that might have hurt. Tricked it at leftovers, and then just put it to sleep, and it did nothing. Thank God.
Now, before we go, I think we should also touch on one more thing that you can use to counter Sleep Powder and Spore. At the very least, it's the item, the Safety Goggles. You heard me talk about that a little bit before. And this is a new item in Generation 6 that I've seen a lot of people use to pretty much just throw their opponent for a loop. And if you don't know what it does, it pretty much just blocks all powder moves. That includes Rage Powder. So that's pretty big. So if your opponent tries to put you to sleep, you get the safety goggles on, they pretty much just wasted a turn. And more than that, if they're trying to rage powder to divert your focus fire, it's not going to work.
And this is, and just to confirm with people, because if you're getting confused as me when you hear safety goggles, I thought of the Go-Go goggles, which were in 3rd gen that helped you get through that desert. That's what I thought they were talking about. I'm like, why are people running that item? I thought it did absolutely nothing in competitive battling.
No, it's actually pretty, I didn't even see that item when Gen 6 first came out, and then I was running the new bat thing. I can't remember his name. Noivern, off the top of my head. With Frisk, and I saw a guy running safety goggles, and I had to ask him, "Oh, what the hell does that item do?" And he was like, "Oh, it blocks powder." And I was
and weather.
Surprised.
And weather. Yeah, it's basically overcoat. It's basically overcoat now.
Yeah, so that's always an item you need to consider if you're having trouble with, or you think you're going to be having trouble with Spore users. And like I said, Spore isn't really the thing you have to be worrying about. It's the stupid Smeargle.
Yeah. And now it's going to be Jumpluff, because I'm so running a Jumpluff with Sleep Powder and Infiltrator.
Go around those subs.
Go around all the subs. Okay, so... Audience, did we get anywhere? I think so. Did we go around in circles? Absolutely. Was this fun? I hope so. Thank you very much, Sherby Magnum, for coming over today. Well, not coming over, but coming over digitally today to give us some insight into the Smogon Doubles thing. I would not have been able to do it without your VGC expertise-ish.
Knowledge.
Stuff.
Well, thanks very much for having me. Always happy to come on. And as a side note, if you guys, have any opinions on the matter, why don't you throw them in the comments below, or just maybe even make a video response. Tell us what you think. You think we're stupid? You think we're smart? I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah, and actually, well, I always say stuff like that, but the cool thing is they are putting a lot of focus on this meta, so there we go. We're just gonna say that right there.
Cool.
They are putting a lot of emphasis on Smogon's Doubles, which I'm happy about finally, because I think it's actually a fun tier that people should be focusing on as much as the OU, the UU, the RU, because it's something more interesting. It's not like you have to go to Alphabet Mons or inverse battles or triple rotation battles. Like, these are interesting, and they open up for the people like me who like to run a lot of combinations and look at the very fine details and don't realize that, hey, this Pokemon runs this move, look what it does to your entire team.
I was telling you, like, just yesterday, I sent you a text message about, there was a guy that I think he's number 4, he was number 4 as of us recording this, on the showdown ladder. He was running a Scarf Mammoth with Odor Sleuth that would, use its Odor Sleuth on Ghost so that his Mega Kangaskhan could just wreck everything. I just thought it was the funniest thing. I don't know, that's pretty creative.
I puked a little in my mouth. Like,
yeah.
that was actually quite disgusting. Like, that's actually just, ugh.
I don't know how some people think of these things, and I don't even know, like, to me, like, that, Kangaskhan is never walled by ghosts, really. You just switch it out or just sucker punch him. I've never had trouble with my Kangaskhan dealing with ghosts. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was okay, and for the record, people, I don't care what you say, I was the first person to come up with a rock polish weakness policy Rhyperior. That was me, not these stupid people on the Smogon forums. I came up with that.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that actually a long time ago.
Now it's a set. I'm like, what? People see this coming? They're not supposed to. Oh, God. But yeah,
anyways,
definitely leave your comments in the section below, people, and let us know what you think about it. If you're interested in Smogon Doubles and you want some practice, I'm always open to help out. And, of course, if you don't recognize this name, this is the name of the Choice Banded Durant, so obviously it's 100% guaranteed quality to destroy every meta. So, thank you very much, Sherby Magnum, for coming. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Until then, have an excellent day, and peace.
Cue music, peoples.
Cue music?
The song you always use with the Durant.
Oh, the Whoa song?
Yeah, cue it. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.